Hey YouTube fam, it's Sonia here. I wanted to stop in and give you a bit of an update on what's going on here in Quebec. There's been a change in the rules about unvaccinated people visiting their loved ones in care homes and hospitals. There's a church in Montreal that has not been following the regulations. Our leaders have decided what the rules are going to be for Christmas, and they've also decided to halt the booster doses for seniors in retirement homes who've already had COVID. So I'm going to give you the roundup on all those things, and I'm going to tell you about my COVID testing nightmare. Before I start, I just want to say thanks for liking the video, for subscribing. Thank you for your support on Patreon. That keeps my channel going. And I want to let you know also about the C60 EVO. This is what has given me my good sleep back. So this has worked so well for me. That's why I'm on here telling you about it. This is like a mega antioxidant. It helps you produce more glutathione. And if you're interested, please check out the link below for more info. And if you use the link and the code, you get a discount. And also, I have also a facial serum and a lip balm, which are awesome. And they also make like gift packages. So if you're interested for the holidays, just want to let you know you get a discount with that. Plus, you can add the discount that you get with my code. So please check it out. So, okay, let's talk about what's going on in Quebec. First of all, when they made the decree on the, okay, this is so confusing, all right? It's been confusing for everybody. A lot of things have been. So as of the 15th of October, caregivers could not go into retirement homes, hospitals, and all that unless they had the vaccine passport. 15th of November, it was supposed to be that all healthcare workers would be put on leave if they couldn't prove their double vaccinated status. That got canceled. But as far as everybody knew, you still couldn't go visit your loved ones if you didn't have the vaccination passport app, right? Well, it turns out that that isn't actually true. In the decree that they passed here on the 14th of November, they actually said that caregivers could go into the retirement homes or the hospitals. They put that in the decree on the 14th, and they never told the public. They didn't even tell the CHSLDs in the hospitals, so nobody knew. I guess nobody read the decree. So they've been enforcing this all this time. And then it turns out actually for, nearly the last month, it hasn't even been a rule. Even the decree said to let these people in. So they finally made it public knowledge. So now you can actually go and visit your mother or your father or whoever if you can prove that you had a negative test. So today, guess who went to get a COVID test? Let me tell you, they don't make it easy. So I go on the site. First of all, it says you can get a COVID test if you have symptoms or you've been in contact with the case. What about everybody else? What about people who want to, go visit their parents, or what about healthcare workers? I mean, I don't know. So I'm looking for a place that's close to me, and I find the one in St. Henry, and it says it's by appointment only, and there's a phone number. But when I call the phone number, I get the government COVID hotline, and they say if you have a family doctor, you need to go through your family doctor to make an appointment. So I figured, well, I guess I can't get an appointment because I'll never be able to reach my doctor. Like today? Hello, I need an appointment like now, drop everything, help me make a COVID testing appointment? I don't think so. So I decided to go up to the JGH, and there was a super huge lineup. It's winter, it's cold. So I'm standing in this lineup wearing my spacesuit, my silver winter coat. And at first I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. It's kind of like waiting for the ski lift, I waited for an hour and 45 minutes. There was no appointment line. That's where I was. And there was an appointment line. No appointment line took an hour and 45 minutes. A lot of people left. A lot of people were waiting, and they're just like, screw this. They left. The appointment line, I mean, these people made an appointment, right? So you'd think it would be fast, but no, they waited about an hour. And it was all these people with kids, little kids, even babies. The kids were crying and wailing. The moms were trying to entertain them. People were like jogging in place, trying to stay warm, singing to their babies. Some of the kids were like getting unruly, and it was actually kind of a nightmare. I started to feel like I was saturated with the cold. And then I started to feel like my hands were going numb. I was starting to like shiver. I was starting to think, I'm going to get hypothermia out here. I put on some good old Latin tech house and I started dancing. I'm freaking freezing here. And I don't want to die of hypothermia. So I was in my silver coat getting my boogie on. And that's how I got through it, you know. And then finally I went in and I had the gargle test. I went in there and I tried to ask the person who was doing the test some questions about like the rules for who can get tested and where you're supposed to do it and how are you supposed to get an appointment if they tell you you can't make an appointment. And she didn't know either. So I got the test done and I'm going to be seeing my mom pretty soon. So that's cool. But yeah, pretty typical of our government here to really not give people clear information. That's kind of been an ongoing thing. All right, so here's the news from Quebec. So they said, I'm sorry, it's in French. But that's why I want to show you what our local French papers are saying, because it might be stuff that you don't hear where you are, because I think only like Le Devoir is talking about this stuff, or maybe La Presse, but it's not stuff that you're going to really hear about. So our government is saying 20 vaccinated people can gather for the holidays. So everyone is saying, well, how on earth do you plan to enforce that? I mean, remember last year they weren't allowed to have any gatherings. And the police were like busting in and pulling people out of their houses. It was kind of really shocking, right? So what are they going to do this year? You know, go and check? No, but the neighbors might report you. So what happens if the neighbors report that you have more people and then the cops come and do they check your passports? And then what happens? I mean, it's a kind of KGB type of feeling at this point up here in Quebec. If you're in the US, maybe it's not like that. You're lucky. Oh, here, this is really interesting. So they decided here they're not going to give the third dose to the seniors who've already had COVID. That would actually include my mother, but I think she's already had her third dose. So let me tell you why. I'm just going to sum it up for you because it's all in French. So what happened was they started giving the third dose to the seniors in the retirement homes. And they discovered that those who had already had COVID before had some major side effects with the booster dose. They actually said what it was here. So this started on the 18th of October. Third injection of Moderna. They had high fever, saw their general state of health degrade, loss of appetite, weakness, fatigue, lethargy. Actually saw that with my mother with the first dose of Moderna, to be honest. In some cases, more severe, people had difficulty breathing and had a declining oxygen level. My mother didn't have that, but anyway, they also ended up delirious. Yeah, a lot of that is pretty much what happened with my mother. Loss of appetite, weakness, fatigue, lethargy, and delirium. She had all those things with her first dose of Moderna. So I guess it could happen with the first dose, but I guess with the third dose, they were starting to see difficulty breathing and declining oxygen levels. So they decided 48 hours to stop giving the third dose. So the question was, did anybody die? If the answer was no, they would have said no. But they said it's a very delicate question. When somebody in the retirement home dies, how do you know if it was the vaccine or not? And she reminds that their life expectancy is very short and that deaths happen every day in these places. So I guess that's true. But I guess that whatever it was that happened, it was pretty bad, because over here, you know, they've done everything short of make the vaccine fully mandatory. You need to have it to do almost anything. I mean, actually not retail and not groceries, but any kind of social or sport or, you know, restaurant activities and any kind of entertainment. So they're pretty hardcore about trying to get people to take it. So yeah, it seems that whatever it was that happened, it was pretty bad, because if it hadn't been that bad, I'm pretty sure they would have pressed on, because I saw in the first round of shots that they did have side effects, but they're like, yeah, it's normal. You know, it's better than getting COVID. So they continued with it. But they're saying they had many unusual side effects, and this was the procedure to follow when there are serious side effects or deaths, and that we think there could be a link with the vaccine, especially because it was in close proximity, time-wise. So, what are they going to do now? I mean, these people who've had COVID at some point had 2 shots that, you know, apparently the immunity doesn't last forever, because that's why they're making people take booster shots. But now they can't give them booster shots. Just to these, not to all the people who are older. It's still open, I think, at this point to everyone over 70, but to the frail elderly, basically. They cannot give a 3rd dose to the frail elderly here. I mean, I don't know if it's been like that anywhere else, but I thought that was pretty interesting that it was at the point where they stopped it. And here in other news, a church, they say a church with a virulent faith. I heard about this church. So the Good News Chapel in St. Leonard. Oh, weird, actually. The one I heard about was in Park X. So there seems to be more than one church that's got this kind of approach, or this kind of philosophy. So the Good News Chapel in St. Leonard, they said dozens of people contracted COVID, and at least 2 people died after having been to the Good News Chapel in St. Leonard. The pastor, Steve CHSLD, preaches on Sundays comparing the vaccines, the masks, and the vaccination passport to a system that came out of the Book of Satan. Yes, a terrible problem. The pastor thinks that this stuff is satanic. And basically, yes, they don't wear masks. They don't want to take vaccines, or maybe some of them did. I don't know, but the pastor is definitely against it. He's basically saying this is the mark of the beast. YouTube? That's not me saying that. I'm just reporting what our newspaper is telling us that the pastor is saying. So don't shoot the messenger. Please don't send me to the meat grinder. So this has been going on in this church. Basically, the church is not following the sanitary measures, and they're encouraging people not to participate in them. So what happened? Why is this in the news? This all started with an outbreak. There was a religious rite, and that led to 7 cases, and another dozen the next week. And from the 2nd to the 9th of November, 12 infections every week. And another 10 on the 30th of November. So it says about 50 people could have been contaminated during this ceremony. So, I mean, that's a lot of people. So this pastor says that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. And, quote, I prefer to live a short life knowing that I have obeyed God, rather than live a long life with the fear and uncertainty before me. This is what some of the faithful have proclaimed last Sunday. Anyway, I just want to let you know. So we do have some churches like that here in Montreal. I'm sure our government and public health doesn't like it. I know that there's actually quite a few. They're just kind of, usually it's kind of underground. There are churches that meet, and that they don't believe in this stuff, or they're against it, and they don't observe the, sanitary measures. Okay, so anyway, that's what's going on here in Montreal. I thought you might want to know. And yeah, like the most outrageous thing, I think, is the fact that it was in the decree all along that people could visit their relatives, except that they didn't tell us. So now they know. Now everybody knows. So people are going to be able to go back and visit. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks again for liking the video, and thanks for your support on Patreon. Please check out the link for the C60 EVO. And thanks for joining me in the chat too. It's always nice to see you. And thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.